ESPN is a very powerful four-letter combination in the industry, obviously. And I'll tell you this: it is also a very powerful combination in recruiting. Our schools definitely want to be able to tell, and they don't. And fortunately, now the lines have really gotten so blurred; it almost doesn't make a difference. But even in the early days, they wouldn't tell you, oh, these games are going on ESPN Plus. They would just, Mom, Dad, your kid's going to be on ESPN.
Welcome in once again to the newest Sports Prod Pod. I'm your host, Nick Case. Still missing the fellas. They'll be back soon. We're going to keep saying that until it happens. In the meantime, another special guest, a friend of mine, a friend of Suze's, who had hoped to join us. He is, let me get your title right, Assistant Commissioner for Broadcast Services and Development. In his fourth year there at the Big South, he is Mark Bryant. Mark, thanks for coming on, buddy.
Say maybe fourth year as assistant commissioner is 19th season overall. So it's
Well, I was gonna get there. I was gonna get there. Like 19th overall, yes, but your title is your fourth year is the title. I'm
yeah,
sure you've been doing a lot of that same work, but
yes, yeah, oh yeah.
they just yeah bestowed the new title upon you as a favor.
I guess you could call it that, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. We'd been teasing Mark for a little bit. We've been trying to get him on. He's, once again goes back quite a while with me at the Big South at Charleston Southern and with Alex Souza when the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. We're in the Big South as well, so we all know each other. And Souza had planned to join us tonight, but things just got in the way. So Mark and I are going forward with it, and we're going to suffer without him, but we'll be all right.
Long suffering, yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, uh, let's just go quickly into your background because, man, you've got a quite the background. I didn't realize. I know you did a play-by-play game for me with football down south, a televised game, but I didn't realize that was what you did for a living for for a little bit of a stretch.
Well, a little bit, yeah. And it's something I still like to keep my hand in, although I haven't had as nearly as many opportunities as I used to. But yes, I was a TV and radio by by college degree person, but I worked in news departments for a bit, and then I got a chance to hop to a baseball team, and I heard that they were going to have a play-by-play job open, and I was already in the market, and I reached out, and next thing I knew, I was calling single A baseball in Columbia, South Carolina, and I did that for a few years, and I'm like more than 400 games worth, and you learn a lot doing radio in minor league baseball. Yeah, in particular, where all the Waffle Houses of the Southeast may be found, and your various stops, hotel to hotel, because that's what's open after the game. So there you go.
How do you take the hash browns?
Just sometimes smothered, yeah, smothered and covered maybe, but yeah, scattered is good enough on a good on an average day. I don't get too fancy with the hash browns.
My go-to was always the Texas cheesesteak melt. The breakfast is good there, but something about that was it always just hit right. Now this was pre Columbia Fireflies.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, it was Capital City Bombers. They had started as the Columbia Mets back in the '80s, but by this point they had as the minor league marketing rebranding boom, of course, had taken effect. So they had to be something other than their parent club, and they took the name of the. The quick version, I guess, is the Doolittle Raiders, who did the original raid over Tokyo in World War II. They trained in Columbia, so we became the Capital City Bombers in their honor, and there you have it. So that was I worked for the Bombers for 9 seasons. Did not do play by play for all those years because radio got too expensive, and I wound up getting kicked upstairs, so to speak. I became assistant GM for the team for longer than I was their play by play voice. I will tell you one interesting wrinkle. One of my interns, while I was doing the calling the games, one of my interns was a gentleman by the name of Tom Hart, who is the on the SEC network now. Does the SEC Saturday night games on TV for the ESPN folks, and you'll see him doing basketball for them too. So, I he gets a lot more exposure than I do, but he started back. He's out of the University of Missouri. He started out with us back in our Bomber Ball days.
He learned everything from you, right?
Oh, I would certainly wouldn't say that, but he learned a few things from me. I'll say that.
How not to?
Maybe that too. Yeah, yeah.
um, so you moved on from there. What brought you to the Big South? I know you were in Columbia. Big South is based out of Charlotte, so you're already kind of in the area, but you've still hopped around. What brought you to the Big South?
Well, I'll tell you a couple things. One of them was the team I was working for. They were moving, and I didn't. The idea of going a couple hours up the road to stay with a single A ball club and continue pulling tarp and all those things was not as appealing as one might think. After 9 seasons, it's like I don't want to move for this team at this time, and I wound up getting a job. Gave the real world a try. I got a job actually with H&R Block in promotions and marketing, and I was going to do that. And the team did move, and I worked in that market for another couple years. But then they wanted to kind of promote me and move me, and so they moved me to Charlotte. And then after a time, after a very short time, they wanted to move me again. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. And that agreement wound up lapsing because they basically said, you're the new district manager of Wilmington. And I was like, no, I'm not. And I'll stay here as long as you want me. But so I was without a job this summer of 2007. I'm jobless and I'm looking. And a good longtime friend, Matt Hogue, told me he knew about an opening with the Big South Conference, and I gave it a shot. And the rest, as they say, is history. I've been there ever since. Matt Hogue, of course, was the voice of the Chanticleers, and has held a long list of positions with them, up to and including athletic director, and now Hall of Famer for Coastal Carolina. They inducted him into their University Hall of Fame. But he's a longtime friend, and he was aware of the opening. And sometimes it is who you know and what they know. And my experience spoke well to where the Big South was at the time and what they were looking for. And as I said, it's I've seen them through a lot of changes. I started the Facebook page and the Twitter feed and the Instagram and those things because they didn't exist when I signed on, or they didn't exist for us when I signed on. They were all very very new, and you'd go to like the sports video group convention in Atlanta, and people were like afraid, like, should we have Twitter? Should we be in this space? And like, within a year it's essential for everybody. But at that point it was still, oh, this is scary. People can say things. And so I helped get all that started, and I helped see the evolution through of from some very early streaming equipment to multiple generations and upgrades, and just the evolution to where that is today is a big change.
I know Alex and I talked about the early generation of live streaming and various names even that you've gone through. Are you able to rattle those off the top of your head?
Well, we were the Big South Edge when we started, because everything had to have we felt like had to have a brand. It had to, because we were selling it, right. It was a subscription service, so it joined the Big South Edge and all that. And
If it were now, it'd be Big South Plus.
yeah, yeah, everything's plus now.
Yeah.
But it basically just became the Big South Network, as the commissioner, Kyle Calander, at the time, what with the Big Ten starting its network and the SEC starting its network, and theirs being linear, we were going to start our network as our digital arm and kind of join that conference profile that way. And we still in house refer to ourselves as the Big South Network, even though now we know we're in, an arm, a partner of the ESPN Plus college landscape, which is massive. But the I'll tell you this: when I started, the standard streaming gear, what was supposedly state of the art by the people who told us what we were doing at the time, we had these little Canon GL2 cameras that were hooked into a very cheap data video 4 camera switcher, that was into a Canopus box, that was into a little like cigarette case size thing, that was into a laptop running Windows Media Encoder, and boom, and that was our streaming operation. That's where it began, and it's hard to look back at that rinky dink kind of setup now and realize the whole thing could be brought to its knees by one little, barrel connector or a tiny piece of plastic that busted, or uh, so simple to cripple the whole operation with the because so many things were chained together in a row. Any piece falls down and you're out. Um, but then from there we got into the TriCaster studio and then evolved with the models up the way because that still best fits our production workflow model for our conference for our size.
Yeah, and that's what I learned on. I got there, and you guys had the TriCasters all set up. And even when I started at Charleston Southern, part time, gosh, 12 years ago now. Oh my God. Yeah, it was still TriCaster. It was still 3 play. It was live text, and everything was run out of a little suitcase. Essentially, they'd open that up, and there's your TriCaster, and the 3 play was plug and play. And some point right before I started there full time, which was 8 years ago today, actually, I accepted the job on this recording date, which is 2 days before the publishing date. um, they incorporated their trailer, which had further upgrades from you guys, a better TriCaster, which then was the updated one, and a better 3 play, or maybe the same, the 425. But either way, you guys have always been advancing things, and a couple years before I left, you guys gave us the newest TriCaster, the newest 3 play, the AJT. So you guys are always trying to be on top of things and provide the latest equipment at schools this size that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the thing for us is I'll take a quick step back. The commissioner, Kyle Calander, at the time, did something reasonably revolutionary that doesn't seem that way now, but he got all the schools to agree to come through one site, one portal, through the Big South. And at the time, other leagues had schools doing one offs. It's on our site, it's on this video distribution, it's on that place. And we got everybody in the same grouping, whereas others, getting the horses back in the corral were going to be difficult because they were all doing their own things. And he up front said, "Let's centralize this. Let's if someone wants to watch a road conference game, they know it's still going to be in the same environment as their home conference games. Um, but if we're going to require the schools to do this, we're going to need to arm them with what's going to make it happen." And so the whole idea was, if you agree that you're going to go through this, we're going to make it. We're going to be sure you have what is necessary to make it happen. And so for us, it was always give everyone the same floor, give everyone that same 3 camera switcher, graphics kind of baseline, and then everybody could, no ceiling. If you want to enhance it, you want to add to it, you want a trailer, you want additional cameras, you want whatever bells and whistles you want to tack on, you're welcome to do that. But as a conference, we want to be sure everybody can produce at least at this level. And so for us, that's why the equipment orders always came through us. I mean, I've facilitated the purchase of more than $3 million in streaming equipment in my time, and looking at probably if I'm here another couple of years, another million more of pieces for the next wave of upgrades, because we're doing anywhere from we've had anywhere from 9 to 12 schools at any given time that we're outfitting, and so that any one school is not going to be an amount that people sounds like would be prohibitive. But then when you make 10 of them, like, oh, okay, that's a lot of money. That's for our level in particular. That's a lot of money. And now I would just say, with college sports being in the place it's in and not knowing certain things about the economics going forward, getting, the conference exists at the pleasure of the university presidents, as they always say. We work for them. And so if they decide that, we don't know we're going to have that money and we can't spend that money, then that's an issue. I mean, because sooner or later, the things that are in place are going to break. And then you're not streaming. Then you're just down. So we have to keep upgrading. We have to keep up as best we can within whatever financial framework we can, because the other part of it is now we have an obligation with ESPN, and we've actually just renewed that. So that's ESPN does give us rights fees that we distribute back to the schools, but we are obligated to provide a certain amount of content for that. So that's, I mean, that's how these deals work. So uh, it's a cycle. The schools, the conference, the network, we're feeding each other, and so long as we can continue making each piece work, we can keep going. But when any one of those parts break down, then you got issues.
Yeah, I was actually just going to ask and say you guys just re-upped with ESPN. How important is that to just the model that you are trying to continue at the Big South Network?
Well, there are other people you can partner with, but for us, we were an early adopter of ESPN. I mean, this is decades now in the conference as being a possible outlet for content, and then that became the ESPN 3 model for a time, and then that became ESPN Plus. We were an early adopter of ESPN Plus, and I mean, we do 800 to 900 events conference wide each year through that platform, and a handful of linear games. We do get every year we get a handful of men's basketball, a baseball, a softball, and our basketball championships go out on the ESPN linear platforms. But as you know, uh, that's limited real estate, so we can only get so much of that. Everyone's like, "Well, can you get more linear time?" I'm like, "Well, there's still only 24 hours in a day on any given network. It's if it's spoken for, it's spoken for." Um, Whereas the digital, we can have every school running an event at the same time, and it doesn't tax the resources of the bottomless ESPN network capabilities. So uh, just watching that availability, that all our schools can be active, can be up, and can get large audiences. I mean, we expanded our just getting when we were in the position we were before. You had to be very intentional if you're going to watch this Big South game. Now I think that we get a few casuals, a few accidents. What's live now? Oh, it's High Point's live now. Let's look at that. Uh, and so that helps. And certainly when we're playing, our schools are playing large non-conference schools. Uh, they have a larger casual audience, and they'll funnel people in and like, oh, they're playing Duke, oh, they're playing UNC or whomever. Um, we had someone had a big soccer game recently against Virginia Tech that had just had you know really ballooned their audience from what you might have expected from a weeknight you know early season women's soccer game in the Big South. So ESPN is a very powerful four-letter combination in the industry, obviously. And I'll tell you this: it is also a very powerful combination in recruiting. Our schools definitely want to be able to tell, and they don't. And fortunately, now the lines have really gotten so blurred; it almost doesn't make a difference. But even in the early days, they wouldn't tell you, oh, these games are going on ESPN Plus. They would just tell, Mom, Dad, your kid's going to be on ESPN, and it's not a fib. It's a slight skew of because they're not going to be on ESPN the mothership. They're going to be on the ESPN family of networks. But seriously, that's a recruiting tool to say you'll be able to watch those games. You'll be able to watch most of those games, or depending on the sport, all of those games. Um, if you're at this school, and that's an asset that the schools certainly would never want to walk back. It's a bonus, and in this point where we are, if you don't have that, you are behind. So
Yeah, and I'm not looking for anything from you when I say this, but I took a lot of pride in my broadcast and
yeah,
put out what I thought was a very quality product. And I actually would say to our coaches, hey, if you're by the trailer and I'm out and you've got a recruit and the parents are there, bring them by because I can say, hey, this is where we put on our ESPN broadcast. This is where you'll be able to see your kids if you can't make it to town to let them see that there's a person there that's doing it and putting in the work to make sure that their kid gets on air. And it was and is a viable recruiting tactic, as you said.
yeah, yeah, no question about it. To the point where we will get coaches saying, "Can you not put all our games on? We'll just put a camera behind home plate, and they're just like no, 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 no. We don't do that." I've had to talk a lot of coaches down. uh, it happens a lot in softball and baseball, or at least it did, where they're just like, we'll just stick a camera out there and just let it roll. Like, we're not doing webcam shows. We're not. We graduated past that a long time ago, and the terms of our agreement created a circle that that you can't do that, because if you're going to do a game, then it has to be on ESPN because of the exclusivity agreement. And if you're going to do it on ESPN, it has to meet their standards. And so you have to, and so around you go. And so I have to tell them, like, I understand you got parents in California or wherever, but we can't just throw that game up anywhere. It's not. We've graduated beyond that, and basically your school needs to invest in doing the proper level of production if you're going to do more.
Yeah, one fisheye camera behind the backstop is not going to get it done like it used to.
No, it's not. It is not 1999, and it is not 2003. It is well past that. And when that was a viable solution, when that was cool, it's like, ooh, I can look in on the game. Some without any kind of audio, and certainly no camera movement, just a lockdown wide shot. And I mean, that's fine for, like, when you're looking oh, let's look at the pandas at the zoo. Oh, hey, look, there they are. It doesn't give you a great sports broadcast, and it never will. So I don't want to dilute the value of the rest of the content by seeing substandard stuff go out with our name on it. It just wouldn't work.
And that was the way I would approach it too. Is yeah, we could probably get five more broadcasts on, but you're looking at maybe two active cameras and a graphics package, maybe not replay. Is it really worth it at that point to dilute the brand that is what you're putting out there on ESPN? Or would you rather keep the high quality broadcast out there and make that associated with your brand that's going out to ESPN?
Hmm. No, exactly right. It, we've come too far to just run backwards. It just, I want to I want them to know what we're putting out is the real deal, and there's no there's no point in doing it to do it. It is I mean, I know why they're saying that, and I know why, let's just do them all. Hey, kids, let's put on a show. But it's like we said, it dilutes everything else that you're doing. And if someone's tuning in and, like, I don't know if I'm going to see a real game or one of those quasi games that they do every so that, no, I don't want. I want them to know when they're coming to see one of our shows that they're coming to see something that's as good as they're going to see anywhere else. They're going to get the replays, they're going to get the graphics, they're going to get qualified announcers, good varied looks. It's going to be a real broadcast that should be roughly equivalent to anything you're going to see anywhere else. It really should be. It should be. I mean, I've seen things on linear networks, and I occasionally, and I just kind of cringe. It's like, oh, they don't have the A team on this one. That's because we can do better than that. We are doing better than that. So, and it happens to everybody. I'm not going to pick on any group in particular. There, it just, you know when you see, like, oh, none of these cameras are on the same color profile, and you're like, we like, who's doing this? What's going on? You get a feeling like maybe they grabbed whoever they could and threw them in there, but it and sometimes our schools, that's an accurate description of how they're staffing some events, is grabbing the candidates to get them in there. Yeah, staffing is the hardest part. Staffing is the hardest part, and I know that can apply to all levels, and certainly anybody can have a bad day, and anybody can have a bad punch, and tech happens, as I like to say. So a camera can go wonky. Anything can happen in a broadcast. Live TV is what it is, but we do at least aspire to maintain that high quality standard as much as we can possibly make it happen.
And when you have in recent years Power Fives, Power Fours, uh, getting yelled at for on Twitter and Instagram for putting on these 1-2 camera shows on ACC, SEC, Big Ten networks. Like, it even makes it, I feel like, more important that you as a conference say we don't want that at our level, even though that can, in a sense, be expected from our level. We don't want that.
Right. Well, and some will use that as a counter argument. They're like, "Well, saw this and that school was only you could tell they only had one camera going and it was just panning back and forth." I'm like, "Well, that's awesome. They're I don't want to say it's lazy, but it's they're not investing time and effort in that, uh, and we don't want that to be the perception of us. I mean, if you noticed that of their game, you're certainly going to notice that of our game, and we don't want that."
You mentioned earlier the ever shifting landscape of college athletics. And in my time in the Big South, I feel like the Big South has really been a minor epicenter of that, with bigger schools of note like Liberty and Coastal Carolina leaving, and then shuffling of the decks with the likes of NCA&T and the coming in and out, Hampton coming in and out in short order. Um, what is it like on your end to have that kind of shuffling about, as it is the new normal, on a day in and day out basis?
Well, as I said, we've had as many as a dozen um, members at a given time. That almost for us that feels a little heavy in some ways. We're not we're not going to be one of those 16 team coast to coast kind of leagues. Not to mention any names. It applies to multiple now, I guess, but we like our tight footprint. We but we also know, given where things are, teams can make their own decisions. Teams can leave, and if that happens, we need to be prepared to either fill behind them or work with the new numbers. Um, the I will say, working with nine, an odd number is tricky when you're schedule making. That it was if I'm trying to help put the baseball schedule together, and I know someone's got one team has to be off every week because that's math. Then and they're not going to be happy. Like, why do I have a random bye week in April? Like because someone had to. So membership is tricky in how it applies to a lot of things, and the streaming is certainly part of it. As the teams have come and gone, you mentioned NCA&T and Hampton, prominent HBCUs that kind of changed our makeup as a league, and we were very happy with that. But right now, football still kind of dictates things, and those programs seemingly thought that they could get better in the coastal, what I still mentally call the colonial and the CAA for so long, and more power to them if that's the direction they feel is best for their institution. We feel like that was all too brief a marriage that they came and went. But we're always working through associates as well. I mean, the parade of teams we've had come through to help. It's and When you do an associate membership, it has to be a mutually beneficial thing. It's a marriage of convenience for both sides. Like, we need another team to bolster our numbers. You need a league because yours isn't supporting football right now or whatever it is. And so Stony Brook has been in, and Bryant and Kennesaw State and Northern Alabama, and all those.
Robert Morris.
Robert Morris, all of those have come and gone, and then over time, the atrophy to football in the Big South has turned us into a partner with the OVC, and now really the OVC is the one driving that train. That it started as the Big South OVC Football Association, but they after a couple of years they increased membership. We decreased with loss of associates, and so suddenly it was so much more their side that it's now the OVC Big South Football Association, and they are the ones really running that. It's really not under our auspices anymore, which is a shame because we used to have a lot of football we would stream, but that's really now down to in our league, Gardner Webb and Charleston Southern, plus Presbyterian, who plays non-scholarship. They play Pioneer League football, and had a great season, as a matter of fact. But that's not Big South football, so we do stream those games. But the volume is way down in that category, which is unfortunate because football audiences, I can tell you just from the viewership numbers we get back, those are the biggest ones.
Yeah, I would always be surprised when I'd get the odd like 12,000, 15,000 viewership on a football game, and it I you mentioned it earlier, like playing bigger schools will drive numbers. I would always focus on outside football. Um, if I can get a Power Five broadcast on, I absolutely will, because that it drove numbers. So I was a little used to that for baseball or softball, um, getting a Power Five and having a good boost, but for football to occasionally get 20,000, especially when I approach this as only my mom and the parents are watching, to see 20,000 people viewed a game at any given time.
No, a quality regional matchup will, and particularly if there's not a lot of other games on in your window, will just propel that up because people are like, "Where's football? Where's live football? Where is it?" And if you're one of those games, off you go. They'll find you. And yeah, when I see someone lined up against a power school, I often I'm looking to see if that audience balloons, and it really comes down to, in part, of whether the bigger school is promoting it well on their end, because sometimes the audience isn't much bigger. You're like, no, they didn't know, because they certainly have a larger base to draw from. Uh, so maybe they just didn't push it on their end like they should have. But like we're always telling our schools, to keep promoting your upcoming broadcasts because you want to use the audience you have to foster the audience that's coming.
You mentioned going Big South OVC, now OVC Big South. How has that been on your end, being the focal point of the football outlets for, I guess, to, for the 10 teams, 8 teams that were there, to now just having to step back and be a part of the machine that is running that?
Well, it is odd because, like I said, we used to do when our football number used to be 40 something, and now it's in the teens, like because there's only 3 schools doing it, and if they're doing 5 or 6 home games each, maybe even as few as 4, you wind up with like 16 football broadcasts instead of the 40 you used to enjoy. That hurts a little bit, but at the same time, it allows us to focus on the operation of the sports we do control and let the OVC work with handling all the officiating matters and the administrative matters of that combined league. And it's still a beneficial relationship. It's to the nature of it changed from when it initially got signed up.
Yeah, it just goes back to what we said earlier, that college football is just ever revolving, evolving, not just college football, college athletics at this point, ever evolving. And that brings me to my final question for you, Mark, unless there's anything else you want to touch on after this. What does the Big South's future look like to you?
Well, while we were talking membership, I will say the old line is about how the membership committee is always open, is always active. So we're always looking. There there could be another team in our future. No, I'm not privy to those discussions because there's a lot that goes into them and a lot of things that can go wrong in them. So as soon as teams get mentioned or referred to or rumors start, things go off the rails a bit. But it'd be good for the Big South, I think, to be back to 10 at some point. Double digits is a good look, and an even number is a good fit, and 10 is of an efficient kind of operation. Um, I think technologically, we will continue to try and stay on the front edge. I don't think that we'll I don't see us doing too much investment of trying to be ahead of the curve, but we want to be with it. We want to be right with the best developments because we don't necessarily have the budget to expend on over experimentation as much as I'd like to see some. Let's try something really out there. If at this point, if it doesn't work, then we're just out money that we don't have a lot of. Budgets are what they are right now, and so I think as long as we can keep up with the industry standard and the high end of what quality should be for Division 1 athletics, then we are doing the right thing. And I know the following is out there for us. we've had our social media profile was in the top 10 of conferences for a time of all all size conferences. We can engage an audience, and we want to continue to do so with the best in social media, the best in streaming, and what should be the best product we can put out there. The trick to that, of course, is everybody's everybody's transferring everywhere now. So consistency year to year is that's tough. That's tough when player of the year in sport X is now at that school. Player of the year in sport Y is now at that school, and uh, it's that's just where we are in an open portal NIL landscape. It just I don't know where it's going, so I can't tell you exactly where we're going. But we're gonna. But our current commissioner Sharika Montgomery is outstanding at keeping her hands to uh, her finger on the pulse of what's going on with the NCAA and with the government and with all these policies and rules and changes. So the Big South is never going to be left behind. We're always going to know how to try and adapt and move with that landscape. But it is uh, you go broke trying to predict what's going to happen next because it's if you had said a couple years ago that the NCAA won't have basically any recruiting rules they can enforce, and that people will get student athletes will get paid to do virtually anything, and use that as negotiating tools to get from one school to another, I wouldn't have believed it would have gone that extreme. But we once the door opened, they kicked it open, and it's the Wild West out there still. Everyone who said it was going to, it'll 2 years, it'll settle down, there'll be a new set of parameters. Well, they're still trying to figure that out. So it's still a little wild and woolly out there in terms of where all these student athletes are going and what they're getting for going there.
Let me backtrack on saying we're done after that question. Because you kind of brought it up, you don't know what the grand scope of the future looks at, but let's look at what you can control, quote unquote. What does the future of the Big South look like through 2031 with the ESPN renewal?
Well, on the face of it, we're expecting to still kind of do the same sort of volume of production we're doing now, keep the quality at minimum at where it is now, and continue to advance it. If we get other members, certainly we want to do the best we can to get them up to speed with where we are and going forward. I'd like to think by that time the membership has uh, grown. Not I won't say changed because I don't want to lose anybody, but I will say grown because I think that's entirely possible. And as for the streaming, uh, the ESPN relationship has been a good one, and I think having that in our pocket is best for a league of our size to kind of continue that money going back to the schools and continue putting our product in the best possible light for audiences, best possible platform for them. I still see it as a as a gentle upward growth line for us. I'm hoping there's nothing too radical in there. Uh, like I said, talk about the awkwardness of trying to predict the future. Would I have said we'd have lost virtually an entire fall and an entire spring of sports due to a pandemic? No, I would never ever have seen that coming. But you look at like our year to year graph of number of events, it's like, oh, it's going good, it's going wham, and it just so the future is the great unknown, but I do think we will continue to go to bat for our members and for staying as prominent on the tech side as we can with the budget that we're given. We're not going to be NBC at the Olympics, but we're going to be the best we can be for our universities.
I mean, you even take out the pandemic, Asheville, what they went through last year, losing a lot of sports.
Oh well, yeah, yeah. They lost a month of events, and just speaking in very generic numbers terms, the whole league was down. But why was the league down? The league was down because a school that does a lot of fall events lost a month of time and took out their almost all their volleyball and soccer and a chunk of their basketball. It's like, okay, now we're behind because we're supposed to try and hit certain numbers for the network. The network understands act of God, so extenuating circumstances are what they are. But yeah, those things set you back, and you just don't. You never know. I mean, you're Charleston. The Hurricanes have taken out entire sports weekends or multiple weeks. Um, what I tell all our schools for those for extreme instances is like your first priority is your people. Keep your people safe. Whatever you need to do, that people safe. Close second is your gear. Gear is technically replaceable, but very expensive. So people can't be replaced. Gear can be, but you would like to try and not have to do that. And the third priority is the broadcast. The show is the distant third. People, stuff, and then the show in that order. So regardless of what calamity has come upon you, from as simple as it's a lightning night, we got to shut it all down, to there's a natural disaster on the way, and we gotta bolt. Um, we're going to be practical about that. We're never ever gonna put anybody in harm's way, or like put the broadcast above all. It's just TV. No, there shouldn't be lives at stake. So we never want that. I will say before I go, I will say one of the things you've probably heard me say 1,000 times. I will say for anybody out there, my one of my main pieces of advice I give to everybody, give to every school, is do the show you'd want to watch. Put on the event that you would watch, because everybody out there knows what good sports TV looks like and what bad sports TV looks like. And if you are guilty of being boring or bad or obnoxious or just anything negative, be aware, be self-aware, because like understand I wouldn't want to watch this. We got to do something different. Um, do the show you would want to watch, and as long as you kind of keep that as a barometer, as a north star, if you will, to guide you, you should be doing good TV, because you already know, you've watched enough hours of sports television to know when it works and when it doesn't. It doesn't always mean that the conditions and the technology will allow you to do the best of that, but do the best of your ability, and generally those things will work themselves out. But just don't make bad things become bad habits, I suppose, is the other part of that.
Yeah, one of the oddest compliments I would get was, "Wow, you're putting on like a real broadcast." I mean, yes, they're all real broadcasts, but I guess if you're saying it looks like a TV broadcast as opposed to a web broadcast, I get it. But thank you? Question mark.
It's backhanded, but it's legitimate. Is like because streaming still has a stigma. We had that for years of like schools that did have. Not all of our schools have communication departments, but the ones that do, they were like, "Can you lean on your communication department?" Oh, the professors are like, "That's just digital. That's just streaming." Like, no, that's TV, because there's no line anymore. There's no line anymore. And so we should look like regional sports networks. We should look like those network broadcasts, because we're all doing the same things. It is a difference of scale, but what you see should be roughly the same, and what you hear should be roughly the same.
And it was a thing I always had to deal with because I would have trouble getting kids from our comms department because it's just streaming. But meanwhile, my trailer was built to the specs of the Tupelo Raycom trailers that I would work on, make three, four, $500 a day. So really, you're saying this is not a good real world learning experience for them when they're putting out high end web stream or sometimes linear broadcast on these trailers? Okay.
Yeah, I'm always stunned by institutions, and I'm not going to say not within our conference but any that I hear of, where it's like someone's come out without any practical experience. It's like, what do you mean? There are ways to do that. But if you get stuck in an academic track and you're like, okay, I've met my requirements to graduate, now what? Uh, did you take advantage of the opportunities? Did you have an internship? Did you work the extracurriculars? Did you hire on with a crew? Did you even observe or shadow anything? And some people don't, and then they come out with a blank resume at the end, and I'm just dumbfounded anytime I come across that, because there's so many opportunities to take advantage of.
Yeah. To take one step back, if you want to learn more about the issues at UNC Asheville last year, episode 7 with then UNC Asheville lead Allen Ellis. Go back and listen to it to give you an idea of what they faced. I'm sure we all know by now, but it was really heartening to hear a firsthand account. Allen now here in Charleston at
Yeah,
College of Charleston and still doing well, and I'm sure he'll say hi when I say that we talked. Uh, one last question for you, and I promise we're done. It came up with the Chance run to Omaha, and it's come up quite a bit. 2016, that's a Big South title, right?
yeah, that's the one.
That's the one.
That's the one.
Yeah,
Well,
because a lot of. Go ahead.
no, I just we. It's the holy grail in college athletics, right? To get a national championship, and that year was such an odd year uh, for Omaha because they had rain, they had delays. It got pushed to the very, very end of June, and the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers win it. The Big South has a national championship team, and like the very next day, it's July, and they're a member of another league, and it was just we're wanting trumpets and flags and parade, and we're like, ah, oh, and it man, it really deflates that balloon fast when you like you promote the fact that the Big South produced the national champion in baseball, NCAA baseball, and but then you can't wind up pointing back to the school because they belong to somebody else at that point. It was a weird time, and it remains so just because I mean yes we can claim that national championship. It happened under our auspices, but uh, the actual moment lasted, 24 hours at best, before it was just gone.
That's what I remember the most. If somehow it had gotten pushed another day, they would officially be in the Sun Belt, and it would not have counted for the Big South. But you know what? They weren't, so it
Yeah,
does. So the
yeah.
Big South has at least one national title to their name.
Got a handful of individuals in track and field, and that's the only team title. Yeah, yeah. So there you go.
Mark, man, I always enjoy texting you. I don't know if you always enjoy getting my text, but I always enjoy texting you. So it was really good to hop on here and catch up with you. Um, Anything else you want to plug or talk about before you head out?
Just tell Alex I'm sorry we missed him. I feel like he's avoiding me here. So, but all the best to each of you in what you're doing, and great job with this endeavor. It's obviously been going along really well, and I thank you for including me in that. And I think that just about covers it for me. I've talked plenty. I've talked too much, so I'll
Nah,
let you sign off.
I'm just ready to get off because we're recording this on Sunday and the Steelers game's going on right here to my right. So I want to watch the Steelers play the Browns. Mark Bryant, he is in the Big South, the official title of Assistant Commissioner for Broadcast Services and Development. Thank you, Mark. Pleasure. Until next time, hopefully the boys will be back. Until then, I'm Nick Case. Good night, Satellite.